Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking a little time out of your day. I appreciate each one of you, and I just wanted to share today some important information on nutrigenomics and why this is something we as medical professionals should be aware of. And I have a few people on here that are going to be sharing. So I appreciate all of you guys for hopping on. And for those that may or may not know me, I'm Rachel Huffnagel. I'm a registered nurse, and I live in upstate New York with my husband, my son, and one on the way, a little girl on the way. And I have been learning about this area of science for about 5 years now. And I have seen significant benefits in my life and the people that I've shared it with. So I'm going to introduce to you Rusty Cottrell, who is going to be sharing first. And he is a physical therapist, lives in Hawaii, has done considerable amount of research on this area of science. And I always am blown away when he shares, even though I've heard some of the things over and over again, there's always new things to dig into. And he's going to be sharing a little bit of his story as well as the science. And we will have time for questions at the end. Also, we have Dr. Bruce Hyde on here from Michigan, and he's going to be sharing a little bit his perspective as a doctor and why this information is so important. He will be sharing after Rusty. And we also have Brian Ahern, and he has a nutritional background, has owned several health food stores, and taught yoga, lived in Hawaii. I forgot where you currently live, Brian, so you can tell more about yourself. And he's going to be sharing some more about business and health and why this is so important. So thank you for your time, and Rusty, go right ahead.
Thanks, Rachel. And thank you guys for coming on and giving us some of your time. And I'm here looking at Brian, the guy that got me interested in this, actually explained some of the science to me, and that's why I'm here. And then I see Dr. Bruce Hyde, and that's why he's here. Brian talked to me, I talked to Bruce. It's like, and then Bruce talked to his daughter, and then his daughter talks to. It's amazing how this spreads. I want to show you a couple of slides here, but first. The reason why I'm looking at this is because I was working in my office, physical therapist, and a patient brought this information to me, and I just wasn't interested because I didn't think she could know anything that I didn't know, and that's how we are sometimes as health professionals with our we've been trained and we have an ego. Maybe some of us have an ego. I did, but because of Brian, I actually did listen because he knew something that I didn't, I wanted. And so I listened to him, and then he got more information to me. So hopefully you'll get the information you need today. And if you don't, keep searching. And, but I'm going to give you some of that this morning. So oxidative stress may be a new term to you. It was, I'd heard of it, but it wasn't, I didn't know how big it was. I knew it was a problem. I just didn't know how big a problem it was. And so I would just go a little bit of the science here that I've learned since then. And here is a picture of an apple. And this apple, you've all cut an apple before and you've left it out and you see it brown there, or if it was metal, it would rust, but apples are not metals. They don't rust, they just oxidize. And we have the same issue. My wife and I were taking a product that gave us 100,000 antioxidant molecules. If you made $100,000 a day, how would you feel? Would that answer your debt problem? Would that answer your financial problem? Well, what I didn't tell you was that your debt each day was 306 trillion. So this is what you'd have to pay off every day. So 100,000 wouldn't do much for you, would it? And that's really what we're looking at when we think about oxidative stress. We have this many free radicals that go through our body every single day on average. And so looking at, what causes oxidation, I mean, you see the list right there. I mean, our own energy producers, mitochondria, actually make free radicals as well. And then we have all these additional things like pesticides and things we deal with every day, pumping gas at the gas station, different things like that. And for an example, I just want you to imagine for me with a second that You're in a garage, your car's running, and there's no windows and no doors open. There's no fresh air coming in. And how long can you survive that environment? You'd probably start to feel nauseous, maybe feel a headache, start to feel different symptoms. And eventually you'd feel tired, sleepy, and then you would probably pass out and then you would eventually die. Your cells are just the same thing. They have to exist with exhaust called free radicals. And unless you have some kind of filtration system in your garage, you're going to die. If your cells don't have some way of eliminating that exhaust, you're going to die much sooner. You're going to age faster and you're going to die sooner. And so our body actually can make enzymes that, like filters, can actually eliminate much of that exhaust. And that's what we need to be able to do. And so uh, when we take direct antioxidants, they work on a 1-to-1 ratio. And so 100,000, one and done. And so we have enzymes that have been discovered that actually can take out 1,000,000 per second every second. So just imagine you have 37 trillion cells. If each one of those cells makes an enzyme called SOD, superoxide dismutase, that can be 37 trillion million free radicals per second that you could eliminate. That's why this is so amazing. You cannot touch this with a direct antioxidant, vitamins, whatever. We're activating, and it's quite amazing. I want you to look at this picture here, the piano tuning. My son can actually tune the piano. Maybe some of you on this webinar can actually play the piano. You might know that there's 1 to 2, sometimes 3 strings per key. And so when my son tunes the piano, it's a very laborious, very, very hard thing to do. And I don't know how, I didn't count how many strings there are, but let's just imagine there's 500 strings on this piano, okay? And we have 500 genes, essentially 500 genes or up to 500 genes in our survival gene section of our DNA. And with my son tuning each one of these notes by itself, it takes a long time to do that. And sometimes we have drugs that will tune one gene, like in atherosclerosis, we have one gene that they can retune with a drug, very expensive drug. I said, son, what if you could actually have one little switch that you could flip that switch and you could retune all those piano notes? He said, that'd be awesome. Well, we have that in our genes. We have a switch. We know where that switch is. In a sense, we know how to activate it. And these are a cross-section of those 500 genes. And this note here in our piano metaphor is too sharp. This note is too flat. Everything needs to come up to right here to be in tune, so to speak, when your genes are in tune. So you have pro-inflammatory genes that are going too high. You have anti-inflammatory genes that are too low. You have pro-fibrotic genes that are too high. You have anti-fibrotic genes that are activated too low. We want to balance those out. Well, through NRF2 activation, we can actually make it look like this. Every single day, you take our activator, you can make the genes look like that. Basically, it's like the piano has now come, all the flat, sharp notes are down, all the flat notes are up, and now you have perfect music going on in your genes. And when that happens, it's amazing what can happen. It's not a miracle pill, it's a miracle body that we're dealing with. And we're able to activate those genes in a way that every day this is like you as a small child. It just resets those genes to what you were as a small child. Imagine that. I was 57 when I first started doing this, and I felt it in 3 days. Not everyone will, but I felt it in 3 days, like I was actually at the end of a juice fast. I've done juice fasting before, like at the 7th to 10th day, you're just like flying high. You feel like you're clean, you're light. You could fly, actually. You feel like that. And I felt like that in 3 days, but not everyone does. But essentially, it's just retuning your genes. Now we also have, and the product that actually did that is this blue bottle here, the NRF2. Now, since then, they've actually come out with 2 other activators, which is kind of cool. And I'll show you a brief thing about that. In the scientific community, this paper was found, and it's not our Life Vantage company. It's just out there in the scientific world. And what I've been talking about is basically right here, the NRF2 messenger protein. It does those 500 to 600 genes. It's right here, but it has some other activating things in our body that actually go together with it. So for example, right over here, we're going to talk about the NAD synergizer and sirtuins. Notice sirtuins right here and DNA repair. All this right here is in one of our activators. And over here, the ATP, notice that. Notice mitochondrial biogenesis here. This side of the equation is going to be another activator. So we happen to have 3 activators that all synergistically work with each other. When you increase this one, you're going to increase this one and this one. You increase this one, you're going to, I mean, it's like if you ever went to chemistry lab and you put in a couple of different chemicals and you put the third one in, all of a sudden you have this explosion and the scientific room goes foggy, right? That's what's happening here. And it's just amazing. In fact, let me show you this slide. So they just looked at 2 genes that we're activating here and to see what would happen if you just did one bottle by itself or all 3 together. So notice this one here is one of my favorite genes here, the HEMOX1. That's it, like an anti-inflammatory gene. It makes anti-inflammatory enzymes every day you're taking our activator. Well, when you take the NRF2 blue bottle by itself, right here, by itself, you get a whopping 51% increase in that gene activity. Now, we saw miracles with this one product, just this one product. Amazing stories. Imagine the stories we're going to get the longer we're on all 3. This gene is activated another 848%, which is the 1,563% increase in that gene, and that one gene activity. Now, many of you on this know that you've heard the term inflammation is the root of all disease. Well, guess what's the root of inflammation? You guessed it, oxidative stress. And so as we are able to eliminate age-related oxidative stress, we're able to activate this gene, HEMOX1, another 848%. That is absolutely amazing. And then you come over to the NRF1, which we didn't talk about. This is mitochondrial biogenesis. Mitochondria are your powerhouse of your cell. And my wife is a dietitian. She was just taking some continuing education recently, and she found out that mitochondria, as you are developing in utero, your cells are dividing and coming off here. This can be the kidney, this can be the liver, heart, whatever. It's not the same genetics in the mitochondria. Some mitochondria you get are less genetically viable. They're not as good. You all know people that eat the standard American diet, SAD. We call it the SAD diet. Some families get diabetes, some families get cancer, some families get heart disease, some families get, it's because whatever inheritance you get in your mitochondria, wherever it's weakest, is where you're going to hit first. Does that make sense? So you all wonder, why does some families get this? Why do some families get that? It's because of mitochondrial dysfunction, and you're not all wired the same. Your whole body's not wired the same. You might have a strong gut, might have a strong brain, you might have a weak heart, you might have a weak kidney, you might have a weak pancreas, you're going to get diabetes, whatever. And so we're able to activate mitochondrial biogenesis right here with this PGC1A gene, a whopping 71%. It's absolutely amazing. When I added this product to my regimen, I doubled my strokes per breath that I do sprinting, swimming, and 30 days. I've been on the same level for 5 years, not going anywhere better, not getting any worse. And I added this to my regimen. In 30 days, I doubled the strokes I could do per breath on my sprints, swimming. And look at this here. You get another 120% increase in mitochondrial biogenesis. That means more energy for your cells. And you on your own, look up mitochondrial dysfunction and look at what diseases are related to mitochondrial dysfunction. It's absolutely amazing. And then look at the NAD. What we're looking at here is we're looking to make sirtuins, and sirtuins are 7 proteins. And for those that are scientifically minded here, you have sirtuins in the mitochondrial DNA. You have sirtuins in the cytoplasm of the cell. You have sirtuins in the nucleus of the cell, and they're all in different positions of that cell, stationed in a sense to protect the genome, the DNA, from being damaged, to keep the telomeres long. And so as that's happening, those sirtuins are just there guarding everything. For example, if you have a recipe open, like your DNA is being read, the recipe's open, and your child comes along and spills something on it, or happens to grab it, the book down, and it falls on the floor, and the dog grabs it and runs off with it, it can be damaged, right? And so your sirtuin is actually, when the DNA is being read, it actually closes it up and opens and closes it up again to keep it protected from being damaged by other information. And so it's super, super important. And look, with our NAD synergizer, we can activate NAD by 12%. And with a 12% increase in NAD, because we're actually turning on the genes that recycle NAD, not the precursors for NAD. We're actually turning on the genes that recycle NAD, and it's in your body, and your genes are just recycling that. And so with that 12% increase, we're actually increasing sirtuin levels by 100% in 24 hours. Now, the best you could do is be recall with caloric restriction. And if you did a very major caloric restriction, intermittent fasting, you could increase 94%. 94%. We can do 100% without the fasting in 24 hours. Now, that's with the 12%. Now, imagine what we can do when you take all three of our activators, 128% increase in NAD. We don't even know how much more that increases the sirtuin levels. But what I did notice when I added this, I increased my strokes per breath another 70%, adding this into my thing. So I experienced what they experienced in that chemistry lab when they put these chemicals in, and all of a sudden, explosion. My health just exploded with all three of these. Just kept getting better. Every one I got, I just kept getting better, younger. In fact, I had a friend of mine, actually Dr. Bruce's son, hadn't seen me in like 6 years. He saw me in one of these Zooms. He said, "You look 10 years younger than the last time I saw you." Absolutely amazing. It's amazing what I feel and what I experience. But this is just like the tip of the iceberg, guys. And just, I just want to encourage you to look into this. In fact, let me show you one more thing. I had it on my computer here. My wife hopefully put it on here. Oops, I don't see it. Hang on. Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. Let me show this, guys. This is absolutely amazing. I'm not saying we're going to cure disease, but I want to show you just an example of what it does to your genes. So in this slide here, we're looking at 28 genes that are related to colon carcinoma. Okay. Now, I just want to show you what drugs can do, and then what our activation of NRF2 can actually do. So to notice this here, there's 28 genes. This ATCB citrate lyase, when you have colon carcinoma, you have an increase in this gene activity. See this one TYMS right here? This bold means that there is actually one drug that they can give you that activates that one gene to actually go down. Okay, because in the disease process, that gene activity is actually up, if you notice right here. Now, there's only that one drug that we know of so far. You have this ATP binding cassette subfamily, that's down, and you actually want that to be up. Well, interestingly enough, activating NRF2 turns all of these down and turns this one up. Notice that. Isn't that amazing? Now, below the line here, these gene activity, you want those to be up. They're up naturally in the disease process. But again, activating NRF2 actually increases them even more. So this one, it increases 200%, 152%, 677% increase in the NADPH gene. So just to give you an example of what it does genetically, and compared to pharmaceutical, where you have one pharmaceutical product that activates this one gene, whereas activating NRF2 naturally does all those genes, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So hopefully I piqued your interest, and thank you so much for giving me the time and your attention.
Thank you so much, Rusty. I really like that last slide. We have Dr. Hyde, if you're still on here, Dr. Hyde. He tuned out for a minute, but oh, there he is. If you can just share a little from your perspective, how this has impacted your life and your practice, and yeah, maybe a story or two. And I think you're still muted.
Okay. So I have been in medicine since 1986. That's when I graduated from medical school. And I went into a family practice residency. After 1 year, I considered myself a pharmaceutical technician. You know, you find out what diseases people have, you look it up in the books, and they tell you what drugs to put into their recipe of meds. And I thought, and I also noticed that my patients were not getting better. I was helping them stay in their chronic disease. And I was actually very disappointed that I was trained to help people stay sick. I had this utopian idea when I was not yet in medical school that I would go to medical school to learn how to help people get well. And as a result of this early discovery, I came to realize that I couldn't just do that. And that led me to participation in a variety of different wellness pathways. And for a time, I worked with a product that enabled people to experience wellness by a molecular correction at the structural level. And what followed was a molecular function correction. And the group of molecules involved happened to involve the immune system. And so when we restored the structure function of these molecules and restored immune function, people with immune compromising diseases started getting better. And early on, we didn't know how much better they were getting, because you don't know in the first month, you don't know in the first 6 months, you don't even know in the first 5 years. After 5 years, you can start making statements like, wow, this disease went into regression, or it went away and we don't know where it went, you know. And the doctors who keep doing the drugs, they say, well, whatever you're doing, keep it up. So then I really forget what year it was when Rusty told me about Protandim, but Protandim was a whole lot less expensive, and yet Protandim is not the same product, but it's even better. And it's not better because it costs less. It's better because it does more. Okay, so we just heard what Protandim did at the level of a nutrigenomic technology, and how it also modulates gene expression in all of those survival genes. But what we started noticing is that the very same benefits that were occurring with this other system of wellness was happening also with Protandim. And it just so happens that this other pathway really involves metabolism that the cell would ordinarily be doing in a normal circumstance. So you know how people start out being well, and then they start getting ill, and then their illnesses progress? Well, before the illness began, they were well. And the reason why they were well is because their cells were working like they were supposed to. And little by little, cellular dysfunction started happening. And that cellular dysfunction resulted in, disease progression. Well, what we saw is that when we were adding the Protandim, we were having those same benefits, but it's not the same technology. It's very different. But because I'm getting another call, so it's interrupting this. But the reason why the Protandim was working is because it was cleaning out the cells so much, getting rid of all of that oxidative stress burden so effectively that the metabolic pathways were restored. And the cell was able to start doing what it's supposed to be doing to maintain wellness and also to combat the disease process at a physiologic level. Now, I wouldn't name a disease, because then we would be charged with practicing medicine with nutritional supplements. So we never do that. We don't say, well, this treats such and such a disease. We talk about how we're made and how to support that design. And then what follows is a wellness result. Now, how well do you want to be? You know, if you do a little bit of wellness, you're going to get a little bit of benefit. But if you're committed to wellness and you follow a recommended plan that has been proven over and over again by others, you can actually experience a lot of wellness. You can actually experience a lot of disease regression. Now, we're not talking about a disease that we're treating. We're talking about a wellness plan. And the more well you are, the less dis-ease you have. And more wellness means less and less disease. Finally, the day comes when you say, you know, I feel okay. Or the other doctors are saying, we don't know what you're doing, but whatever you're doing, keep it up, because we can't even find your diabetes anymore. We can't even find the C word anymore. And then they're puzzled. But we're not really puzzled. You know, the practice of medicine is still in the dark ages if we're only treating symptoms. But the science of wellness is at a level that just keeps expanding with every passing year. And wellness is understanding our design, how God made us, and how to support that creation. And as we understand the science of wellness, it becomes predictable. You can expect to get well. It's not just hoping that you're going to feel better when you take this drug, but you should expect to get well when you do a wellness plan that's based on good science and based on good inspiration. So I will tell you a story, okay? Because one of my favorite products is Axio, and Axio is a NRF2 technology. So it's a product similar to the Protandim NRF2, which is the blue bottle, but it comes in a powder form that you can pour into like a water bottle and then drink it down. And what's really neat about Protandim NRF2, the blue bottle, is that usually when people take that, they know that they're being benefited in the next 30 days. But when you take Axio, you might actually realize that you're benefiting in the next 30 minutes. Okay. And it's not always the same for everybody, but it's not uncommon for Axio to work pretty quick. And I had this one man who had a movement disorder. I won't say the P word, but this movement disorder was already being treated with 5 drugs. And he still had a movement problem that was so severe that he could not keep his balance, not even with a walker. And he was frequently falling. And so without changing any of his meds, we just simply said, let's add wellness. And let's add this Protandim and this Axio. And within a matter of days, that movement disorder basically stopped. Wow, surprise, surprise. But after about a month, the family kind of already forgot how bad he was. And they were thinking, you know, we don't know if we really want to spend money on this product. You know, insurance doesn't pay for it. And, you know, we're not sure if it really works. And so we said, sure, you know, go ahead. Stop buying it. Because that's actually the perfect time for the opportunity for discovery. And so they stopped buying it. And within a matter of days, his movement disorder starts up all over again. And the family says, what's going on here? You know, is he on his meds? Oh, yeah, he's on all 5 meds, not to mention a whole bunch of other ones that he was on for other issues. And they said, you know, those two products that you are giving him, that Protandim and that Axio, can we get that started up again? And we said, yeah, it's really good stuff. It's a wellness plan, it's not specific to a disease. And within a short period of time, he was so much calmer again. He could get around on his own with his walker. He wasn't falling like he was. It was really a beautiful thing to behold. And really what this is all about is really cleaning out the cells at that level and freeing up the cell from all these irritating influences that just create all this provoking, irritating inflammation. And you remove all of that from the cell, and the cell is so happy, so calm and relaxed, and happy to live with joy and gladness and health and vim and vitality. So it used to be, I'm not naming the other product, but it used to be, I would say, well, if there's only one product that you could take, if there was only one, it would be that one. But now I say, if there's only one product you can take, if you had to reduce it down to only one, I would say it's Protandim. Yeah. Now, Rusty has just showed us very clearly how much power there is in the tri-synergy. Okay, each of these products are a blend of 4 or 5 different ingredients that do not overlap in the context of all 3. So you can actually take all 3 at the same time. We tell people don't take other supplements that have similar ingredients because it will throw off the ratio of these ingredients and the effectiveness of how they work. But these 3 Protandims, you can take them all together at the same time because there's no competing and offsetting the ratio of the ingredients in their synergistic action. But even though they alone work very well, when they are combined together, the impact is extraordinarily greater. So actually the company incentivizes you to try all 3 because normally each bottle is like $50. But if you get all 3, they have a plan where you can get it for $125. So that's right there, a really nice savings, and you're going to get the maximum potential benefit. I've been working with this product for quite a few years. I actually work predominantly in a geriatric population, and we have adult foster care homes where we actually incorporate these products in the care plan for almost every patient. Sometimes family just doesn't want to have anything to do with it. We have one adult foster care home where the owner actually pays for the product instead of asking the family to pay for it. And the reason is because the patient care is so much better. The patients are easier to handle. They have less behaviors. She doesn't have to hire as many staff. In the long run, it's cheaper for her to just pay for it. And we've had a lot of fun integrating wellness with medicine. There's a time and place for medicine. I'm not here to say that there's no role for the medicine. There is. But if all we're doing is medicine, that should be a red flag. And it will be a wonderful day when standards of care actually incorporate with medicine well understood and validated wellness strategies. So we're kind of still pioneering the wellness industry. It's been going on a long time, but we're still pioneering it because the medical health industry is still a little behind on that one. All right, so that's a little bit that I would share for today. And I wish the best for each one as you're learning about this and getting started with it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hyde. I'm going to let Brian introduce himself a little bit. For anyone that is running short on time, we are doing our best, but we are obviously very excited about this information. I want to invite Brian to share for about 5 to 10 minutes so we can understand a little bit more of why you're hearing this information from us and why this is an opportunity for you as well as an opportunity to help people and to share as we do. So I'll let Brian share some more. And I think you're still muted, Brian.
Okay, so thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Rusty and Dr. Hyde, and thank you everybody for taking the time to learn about our products and our business, our company. And you know, I've been with this company for about 10 years, and 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic disease, and my my surgeon told me that I needed to get my glutathione levels up, and I said, well, give me some. And he said, you can't take it, your body has to make it. And he recommended, as Rusty had mentioned, some amino acids. And I found out later from a friend that there was a study that showed protandim raised glutathione 300%. So I started taking it, and my condition, I'd had a surgery, and my condition stayed the same for 5 years after I started taking the protandim. And when I was released, I was told I was the healthiest patient that this clinic had ever released. And that I attribute to the glutathione. So I thought, wow, this is really great. And I had done a lot of deep work on finding out what glutathione was and how it worked. And, and I studied the business model because it was a network marketing business. And I wanted to know how that worked. And I felt that that was just amazing. I mean, you've heard about how powerful these products are. To have a business opportunity that fits into people's lives as well as it does. And in the last year and a half, we found, because of the pandemic, that many people are working from home. Millions of people learned how to use Zoom over the last 12 months. And that's how we do our business. So it's such a perfect business model for the times. And timing is critical for success in any business. And so what I want to share with you today is the credibility of our company and why it's such a great opportunity right now. And so I'm going to give you a little history. The name of the company is LifeVantage. It's 20 years old. It's publicly held, traded on the NASDAQ, regulated by the Securities Exchange Commission. We're totally legal, absolutely squeaky clean nutritional products company, and our focus is on nutrigenomics, which is what what Dr. Hyde was mentioning with regard to nutrition, because it's nutri, which is nutrition, genomics, how nutrition affects our genes. And as Rusty pointed out with the piano analogy, we bring our body into balance and harmony. We don't heal disease, we don't treat disease, but we do reduce the cause, one of the causes of all disease, which is free radical damage or oxidative stress. So we have a home-based business, it's an online business that provides nutrition and wellness for people. So we're of service to our community, our friends and family. And it's very simple. As Dr. Hyde said, it's our flagship product, Protandim, is $50 a month. So it's priced for profit, yet it's priced to sell. Everybody needs it and nobody has it. So it's a great business if you want to get into it. We're also a global business, which we're in about 20 countries. So it's all online. If you go to our website, you'll see that you can see our website in, I believe, 7 or 10 different languages. And it can actually do the whole business on your phone. So you have a business in your pocket. And it doesn't cost very much money to get started. You can get started for $50 as a distributor. You buy a little bit of inventory and you maximize your opportunity by having some apples in your apple cart, but you don't have to. It's very simple. You can get started for somewhere between $50 and $1,200. So to start a business, that's very doable for most people. And you can start anywhere in between. And the idea is that there's no inventory to carry. There's no shipping. There's no inventory. There's no shipping. It's all done through the phone, and all of our promotion, training, activity, and so forth is done on the phone. So, and we occasionally, I think in March, God willing, we're going to have a global convention. Several thousand people will gather in Salt Lake I think our last convention, we had 7,000 people. So we do get together, but because of the pandemic, we've been doing it online. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but I want you to know how simple it is. It's a simple product, as Rusty and Dr. Hyde pointed out, and it's a nutritional product. It's not medicine, but it's something that you can share with your friends and family, and that you can be proud of, and that you get really great results. And so I'm trying to hurry up a little bit. So really, the way that we're compensated is because we're online. You can, and on the phone, all of your transactions are tracked. So when you build an organization, we build a network, and we leverage our time, because one of our most valuable assets is time. And so, for example, with the leverage, normally people are trading their time for money. And so they'll work for $15 an hour. So it's so much per hour. That's trading time for money. But what we do is we leverage time. So if I work 10 hours a week, and by the way, you can do part-time, full-time, over all the time, and overtime, and all the time. And so you can work it the way you want to work, and you get compensated by leveraging your time. So if you work 10 hours a week, and you find 5 other people that work 10 hours a week, and you build a little team like Rachel is doing, and we all work together to help each other. So you have these 5 people, and they're all working 10 hours a week. You get paid on 60 hours a week. You're 10 plus their 5, the 5 people's 10 hours. So it's a leveraged business where you're leveraging time. You're not trading time for money. You're creating residual income. And so you can start part-time and make a couple $100 a month at the beginning, and after a year maybe, or a year and a half, 2 years, you can replace your full-time income, whatever it is, just by working maybe 5, 15 hours a week, and having 5 or 10 other people doing the same and helping other people. So that's what we do. That's how we do it. That's how we get paid. It's a simple business, and you can do it on your phone. You can do it from anywhere on the globe. It's a global internet-based business, publicly held. We're doing over $260 million in gross revenue, and we pay commissions, we pay bonuses, and we even share in all that revenue. So thanks for letting me give you my my hurried up explanation. But I think it's enough to ask some questions. And if anybody does have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And if we don't have time, you should tune in to some of our team calls. Rachel will fill you in on when those calls are, and you can learn more. All right, thank you. Time's